Hi, and welcome back to English Lessons with Stephanie. This is grammar lesson number 5, a short introduction to countable and non-countable nouns. Some of you might have studied this under a different name, which would be definite and indefinite nouns. It means the same thing. Let's start with what you already know. There's something wrong with each of these 3 sentences. I have 2 dogs. Monica recently bought new car. The happiness is more important than the money. So there are little things that are wrong with each of those sentences. In the first sentence, we're missing the last S. It should say, I have 2 dogs. In the second sentence, we're missing the article a. It should say, Monica recently bought a new car. And in the third sentence, we have 2 extra little words, the. It should say, happiness is more important than money. This is all related to countable nouns. So hopefully you remember from our first grammar lesson what nouns are, right? So nouns are what we said are people, places, and things, and they're usually the subjects of the sentence, but we're not talking about pronouns. So pronouns cannot be countable, like me, I, she, he, etc. So countable nouns are nouns that you can count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. Countable nouns use articles like a or un plus the. So a are for nouns that begin with consonants. Consonants are non-vowels. And we use un for nouns that begin with vowels like a, e, I, o, u. And the reason why we use a or un is just for pronunciation, because it's easier to say a boy than unboy, and it's easier to say an umbrella than a umbrella. It sounds better for English speakers. We have 2 small exceptions, of course. That's words that start with the letters H and U. Because H can usually sound like huh, like a consonant sound, but sometimes H is silent and it makes a vowel sound, like in the word hour. So if it's making a vowel sound, we put un in front of it. And if it's making a consonant sound, we put in front of it. And similarly with the letter U, U is a vowel, and so usually we would put un in front of it, like an umbrella. But sometimes U can make a y sound, which is like the letter Y, like the word university. So if it makes a y sound, then we put an in front of it, a university. Of course, and this is just for pronunciation. Okay, finally, countable nouns can be plural. And if they're plural, plural means more than one. We add a final S, and then we don't use a or un. So hands, bananas, schools, we don't say hands or bananas, because means one. Okay, so here are some basic rules for using countable nouns. So countable nouns need either articles or to be plural. So an article a or un or the, or we can add numbers or pronouns, right? So if, let's say we're using the noun dog. Dogs are countable. You can have 1 dog or 2 dogs. You can use an article, a dog or the dog, or you can say a pronoun, my dog, her dog. If they're plural, we need a final S. So 2 dogs, 3 dogs, many dogs, and the can be used with single or plural nouns. So you can say the dog or the dogs. Next, we have non-countable nouns. So non-countable nouns are feelings, abstract ideas, and lots of other random nouns. And countable nouns can be kind of frustrating because they kind of don't make a lot of sense. But there are some basic rules that can help you to remember in general what they are. So in general, feelings are non-countable, and feelings are emotions like happiness, excitement, love. Abstract ideas. Abstract means things you can't touch, but exist, like luck or honesty and generosity. Then there are other random nouns, including small things that you could count, but we just don't usually count them. So this would include things like rice. You could count little pieces of rice, but I've never done it, and I don't know people who have. We just don't count rice. We don't count sand. We don't count salt. So we don't, we think of these as non-countable things. The next category is a little harder to understand, but types of things. So jewelry is a type of thing that we don't count because it's a category. We count the different pieces of jewelry like necklaces, rings, bracelets, things like that. Or money. We don't count money. We don't say one money, two money. We count dollars, $1, $2, or euros, etc. Mail. Similarly, we don't say one mail or two mail. We count letters, types of mail, packages, and furniture. We would not count furniture, but we would count chairs and tables and desks. Okay, next we have things like liquids, water, metals like gold, materials like wood or cotton, and subjects like biology, subjects like you study in school. So these are all non-count. And then there are lots of other random things such as food, fruit, sunshine, weather. We are not going to talk about every single one of them here. So today we're just talking about the differences in how to use these nouns. So for non-countable nouns, they don't need articles and they cannot be plural. You can't have more than one because you can't count them. So non-count nouns don't need anything in front of them, but they can have the. So music is non-count. We can just say music. I like music. Or you could say, I like the music that they are playing. And non-countable nouns can also have pronouns in front of them, like her hair is long, this food is delicious. Okay, and the other rule is that non-count nouns use singular verb forms. So in these three examples with music, hair, and food, you see that they're all followed by the verb is and not are. Okay, so let's just practice by looking at some text and looking for the nouns and seeing, are these nouns count or non-count? Okay, so let's read this together. When I was reading a book outside, I heard noises behind a tree, so I got up to take a closer look. Okay, so in this first sentence, we have 3 different nouns. The first one is book. And in front of the word book, we have a, and this tells us that a book is a countable noun. The second noun we have is tree. Like book, it's preceded by a tree. We can count trees. And then the third noun is a little harder to find, but it has an in front of it. I got up to take a closer look. And here the noun is look. You probably think of look as a verb, but here a look is the action of looking at something. And we can see here that it is countable. The second sentence says there was a bird on the ground. And there are 2 nouns in this sentence, a bird and the ground. So bird is easy because you can count birds. But how about ground? Is ground countable or non-countable? It's hard to tell here because it has the in front of it, and the can go in front of both count and non-count nouns. So think about ground. Ground is what you're walking on outside. Do we count that? Do we say 1 ground, 2 grounds? No. So we can say here that ground is non-count. The next sentence. It looked like the bird had hurt its wing and couldn't fly anymore. Here we have a noun that's preceded by an article the. So that's bird. Bird is obviously countable. You can count birds. And then the next noun is wing. And in front of wing, you have a possessive pronoun, its. Right? The wing is the part of the bird that it uses to fly. So this is countable, right? Birds have 2 wings each. The next sentence, I carefully carried the bird inside and put it in a box. This sentence has 2 nouns as well. First is the bird again, and then the second is box, which is preceded by a. So if it has a in front of it, then it is countable. The next sentence, I went on my computer to see what I should do. This just has one noun, computer, which is preceded by the possessive pronoun my. The next sentence, I read that I should keep the bird warm, give it food and water, and talk to a veterinarian. So in this sentence, we have the bird again, and then we have two nouns that don't have any articles in front of them, food and water. So because food and water are nouns with no articles in front of them, you know that these are uncountable, non-countable nouns. And finally, we have veterinarian. Veterinarian is an animal doctor, and this is preceded by the article a, so we know that it's countable. You can count doctors. The next sentence. I took a picture of the bird and sent it to my friend who's a vet. Vet is the short word for veterinarian. So this sentence has a noun right in the beginning, a picture, countable, the bird, also countable, my friend, so my friend, obviously you can count friends, and then finally a vet. So there are lots of countable nouns in this sentence. The next sentence. She said the wing didn't look too bad and that it might just need some time to get better. In this sentence, we have the wing again. And then near the end, we have time. Now, time is a word that we haven't really talked about yet. Time is a noun. And in front of time, we have the word some. Now, some is a word that can be used in front of countable and non-countable nouns, but we haven't really talked about it yet. And here, because some is in front of the word time, which has no S on it, we can say that it is non-count. The next sentence, she was right, has no countable or non-countable nouns, just the pronoun she. And the last sentence, the very next day it hopped out of the box and flew away. So in this first part, we have the word day, which has the in front of it. And so days we can count. And then in the last part of the sentence, we have the box again. So you can see from this short paragraph that we deal with countable and non-countable nouns a lot. That's it for today. Like I said, this is just a short introduction to count and non-count nouns, which is a really long and deep topic. But this lesson was just meant to show you how to pay attention to all the nouns and to make sure that you can identify non-count and countable nouns. And continue on with our next lesson, the listening lesson, where we will get to practice using some of these nouns. Thanks.